that I want every single person in this room to really think about. What is a country? At a fundamental level, a country is a large piece of land sitting within legally defined borders. Beyond this, it is the plant life, the animal life, the topography, the buildings that sits upon this land. It is the weather patterns that dictate the climate of that land. But under these definitions, a country sounds as though it's little more than a statistic to be catalogued by various geologists and other scientists in white coats. So I ask you again, ladies and gentlemen, to really look into your hearts and ask, what is a country? What is it for, and what makes it special? I'll tell you, a country is its people. It is their dreams. It is the cradle of their hopes. A country is the place that holds the unwritten histories of millions of families, unique stories carried on by our loved ones. It's a shared history that's also a living story, written every moment of every day in that which we call culture. We aren't just some random collection of people on a common soil. No, we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A country, our country, is more than the songs that we just sang on the 4th of July. More than the prayers we offer to our fallen on Memorial Day. More than the thanks we give on Veterans Day. More than the big screen TV that's inevitably 25% off on President's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, it is normal for men and women to feel that their country is special to them. But as someone not born in the United States of America, I can tell you emphatically and indisputably that there is no country like America.
Yes.
No country has ever existed like America in the past. There is no country like America now. And if we are not careful, we will lose the America we love in the future. In China, it is possible to be wealthy, to be rich. But this wealth derives neither freedom nor creativity. In Europe, it is possible to derive happy thoughts about a rich past, but impossible to do anything to make a better future. In Saudi Arabia, it is possible to be powerful, but only if you're born into the right family. In my birth nation of Australia, it is possible to have a great day at the beach, but impossible to do anything to dream big. Let me ask you a question. Who in this room was born in this great country? Who has spent most, if not all of their life in this great country? Consider yourselves blessed, because I have first-hand knowledge that God has truly blessed America. But it is also true that God helps those who help themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one way that the United States of America is like every other country in the world. No covenant exists that allows us as American citizens to simply cruise on autopilot and assume that everything will just work out. I know this because there were many hard-working and decent people in Australia that thought it would all just work out. It didn't all just work out there and in many other places where people became complacent, ambivalent, and neutral about their own country's destinies. The United States of America is formed on the unique basis that no leader gives us our freedoms. These freedoms are a birthright from God. Our founders had the wisdom to know that all governments have a tendency to want to take those rights away. What does that look like? Well, sometimes people lose everything they built overnight, just as they did in the communist revolutions that swept half the world in the last century. At other times, these rights are slowly diluted, gradually chipped away at, until one day you turn around and feel like a foreigner in a foreign land. We see this happening throughout the world. We see it even in countries that at a superficial level might even look like the United States of America. They have a similar history. We share a common language. But make no mistake, these countries are losing their freedoms. Freedoms, it is worth noting, that even at their best were never as complete, never as empowering, and never as ironclad as those guaranteed to us by the natural law that our Constitution is designed to preserve. When I say that the Constitution is the greatest document in world history after the Bible, this does not mean that it cannot be taken away from us. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, who in this room voted for Donald Trump in 2016? Okay. I don't believe you. You look too young to have been able to vote. Who voted for President Trump in 2020? Okay, and who voted for President Trump in 2024? I love it. I love President Trump. I was with him from day one, the 16th of June 2015, when he came down the escalator with his beautiful wife, Melania. I was with him when no one thought he would win, and I was with him when no one thought he would win again. I am proud that the President credits me as one of the many architects of the greatest political comeback in history. President Trump's message might sound simple, but it is in fact the most profound thing that any modern statesman has ever uttered. Make America great again. When President Trump first said this, he was doing the opposite of what most politicians do. He was telling us the truth. He saw that we were losing that which made us great by leaving his business empire behind, by leaving his career as a beloved entertainer behind, and by leaving a good and happy life behind. President Trump took it upon himself to push back against the decline that many felt was inevitable. In doing so, he didn't just resolve to restore America's national greatness, but to make America greater than it had ever been before. For that, ladies and gentlemen, all of us in this room owe President Trump a tremendous debt of gratitude. America is not just the land of opportunity. It's also the land of second chances. The land where you can fall flat on your face, pick yourself up and get back in the race. The land of the great American comeback. This is the land, this is the country where a computer genius can fail 50 times in his garage before his innovation changes the world for the better. This is the country where an athlete rejected by the big leagues can be packing groceries one day and go on to win the Super Bowl the next. And this is the country where anybody can become president, including a man that just a few short years ago was told by our anti-American mainstream media that he would never get anywhere close to the highest office again. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, President Trump will not be in office forever. This is his final term. If we are to continue the hard work of making America great for future generations, then we are going to need to do the work ourselves. In order to do this and to succeed, which I know we will need to remind ourselves of the many things, big and small, that make America great. This is a country where power rests with the nuclear family rather than in the great halls of power. This is because when the greatest generation became owners of their own homes, they didn't answer to a king or a tyrant or a landowning corporation. They answered to themselves. Those who seek to undermine President Trump's legacy seek to undermine this reality. This is a country where innovation is both celebrated and encouraged. This has delivered prosperity, opportunity, creativity, and formed the basis of the world's most unique culture. Those who seek to undermine President Trump's legacy want you to own nothing, do nothing, be nothing, and then they tell you to be happy about it. The First Amendment guarantees that we can say what we mean and mean what we say. We can live without fear. It is a dam against a government that wants to not only take away our homes, but dictate our very thoughts. Martin Luther King Jr. once stated that it was his dream that one day all Americans be judged not by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. Today, President Trump's opponents want people to be judged and then deprived of their basic rights based on the character of their content, be it online, in the things that they say to their friends, and even the religious beliefs they hold to be self-evident. This cancel culture is both an issue of fundamental rights and economic degradation. If we cannot say what we want in peace, even to those who may not like it, then innovation will cease. Because without free speech, there is no exploration. And without exploration, there is no innovation. And without innovation, there is no prosperity. President Trump's opponents are content to enrich themselves off perpetual international conflict at the expense of the great American middle class. The reality is that the prosperity of this remote group of financiers comes at the expense of the everyday American, the small business owner, the innovator, the proud factory worker, the stalwart trucker, And these wars, ladies and gentlemen, are fought not by the sons of Wall Street, but by the sons of Main Street. This is why we must fight hard to preserve President Trump's legacy of peace through strength. Our enemies must be afraid of our strength. They must respect our leadership. And in turn, our leadership must respect our active duty service men and women who put everything on the line to protect our shining city on a hill. If we are going to continue the hard work of making America great for future generations, then we must also be honest and open about the methods and goals of those that wish to make America weak. For well over a decade now, there has been a war on young men. These young men have been the victims of efforts to weaken their spirit, feminize their soul, and corrupt their thinking. This war on young men is in fact an undeclared war on that which makes America great. You don't have to take my word on that. Listen to the words of a man that was once the architect of the plan to corrupt America's young men. Yuri Bezmenov. He was a high-ranking agent of the KGB in the Soviet Union, a communist who worked with others to infiltrate America's education system and break the minds of our youth. We know this because Bezmenov developed against tremendous odds a conscience. And it was this conscience that led him later in life to come to the United States, where he sought to tell his story. This repentant communist said that the key to destroying any country was by demoralizing its youth, particularly its young men. He added, a demoralized person will not recognize the truth even when it is plainly presented to them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this might sound chilling, but when we are told that men can get pregnant and women can wave a very male organ around in a locker room, this isn't just bizarre. This is a plan, a calculated plan to weaken America by demoralizing us. And once demoralized, we would lose our will to be great, because we would lose our ability to understand natural law, the very same natural law that our Constitution is designed to preserve. Many have very generously referred to me as a hero for declaring war on radical feminism in the lead up to the 2024 election in concert with the Trump campaign. But in truth, this was just a counterattack. I loved America too much to see her future be destroyed by an unholy plot to corrupt our young men. In striving to build these young men up, I played my part in something very important, something that President Trump has mastered like no other. I tried to make America laugh again. You see, when we laugh at that which is objectively absurd, when we mock falsehoods, when we make fun of insane ideas, we are healing our country. Because laughter is the best way to react to that which is untrue, unwise, and un-American. When the stakes of our nation's future were never higher, I told young men to go out there and eat a 72-ounce tomahawk. When those who wanted our young men to forget who they were and wanted America to be weak forever, I told the young men to go out and play golf, have a beer with the boys, love and appreciate the women that we love for who they are, rather than for what they are not. This is how we fight demoralisation. This is how we win the war on young men. This is how we make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, President Reagan warned us that we are only ever one generation away. Freedom is only ever one generation away from extinction. In a similar vein, we are only ever one election away from the fires of freedom being permanently extinguished. All of us watched on in horror last year as someone tried to kill President Trump. Providence intervened and helped our favourite president to literally dodge a bullet on that fateful sunny day in Butler, Pennsylvania. Not content to merely dodge literal bullets, President Trump then decided to help us all dodge the many political bullets that would have wounded the heart of our nation had 2024 been anything other than the great landslide that it was. Ladies and gentlemen, when I said earlier that God helps those who help themselves, I was referring to all of us in this room. Tell your sons to be strong, wise, and unapologetic in their individuality and patriotism. Tell your daughters to think of their mothers and grandmothers before they make decisions that could take their life in a negative direction. Remind yourself that you live in a country where it is possible to change the world, and we do so on a regular basis. Remind yourself also that freedom is not an abstract concept. But without freedom, you will never own anything, and you will not be happy. Without the pursuit of happiness, implicit in freedom, you will never again be able to dream big. In one of his final campaign rallies before clinching victory, President Trump told us to dream big. America, after all, is the land of dreaming big. Because America is free, these dreams can become a reality. We must fight to preserve our right to dream big when others seek to demoralise. We need to act big when those who hate our country want us to feel small. We need to strengthen our will precisely at the moment that we feel we could lose it. If we want to truly make America great again, then we must make ourselves great again. This means that men and women must live truthfully when others try to subvert the truth. This means that families must stick together when sinister forces try to break families apart. This means that we must innovate, create, and build when others tear down, discourage, and stagnate our vibrancy. When socialists talk about collectivism and conformity, we must retain and redouble our individuality and push forward with the pioneer spirit that saw through the manifest destiny that transformed our shining city on a hill into a land of opportunity from sea to shining sea. when they wave the flag of degeneracy and dystopia in our face, we will wave our great American flag higher than it has ever been waved before. And we will pledge our allegiance to that flag and the great republic for which it stands. When they tell us that it cannot be done, we will do things that have never been done before. When they tell us that all countries eventually fade and fail, we will say, not this country partner, not today and not ever. When they tell us to sit down and shut up, we will remind them that our First Amendment means that we never have to shut up. And our Second Amendment means that we never have to sit down. When they tell us to apologize for our great American history, we will say sorry. Sorry you feel that way. Ladies and gentlemen, when you drive home tonight, I want you to look out of the window and be thankful that you live in the greatest country in the history of the world. I want you to look out of the window and imagine all the great things that can still be. I want you to look out of the window and see a crumbling building and imagine a beautiful tower, just as Donald Trump did at the beginning of a long career. I want you to see a car broken down at the side of the road and imagine the vehicles that will propel our country into the future, just as Henry Ford did with the vision that he had. I want you to look up at the sky and realize that it is not beyond human capacity to harness the electricity of nature to power great things here on earth, just as Benjamin Franklin did at a time of horse and carriage. More than all of that, I want you to promise that you will never let a day go by where you do not remember what it means to be an American. Ladies and gentlemen, when you do these things, there is nothing that cannot be done. No fight that cannot be won. No challenge that cannot be met. No problem that cannot be solved. No destiny that we cannot take into our hands. In doing so, we will make America greater than it has ever been before. We will make our lives better than ever before. We will prepare the best of all worlds for future generations. And we can write our name in the stars that shine so brightly over this, the greatest of all countries. We spoke a lot tonight about dreams. Now go out there and make those dreams happen. God bless you. God bless California. God bless Janet Price. God bless Donald J. Trump. And God bless the United States of America.